Hello there. Welcome into a Monday edition of the show. Hopefully, you had a phenomenal weekend. Appreciate you joining me, whether you're listening to the show on air, online at extrasports1300.com, through the Extra Sports 1300 app, sponsored by Diversus Health, or you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Extra Sports 1300. If you would like to take your experience to the next level and interact with the show, feel free. If you're watching on our social media platforms, you can comment right there and we'll get to it. Or you could call or text into the show at 719-247-1313. Perhaps one of these three stories you are very opinionated about. Here's what's driving the show. All right, let's start here with Coach Prime battling through.
I always knew I was going to coach again. I didn't realize I was going to coach again. I was always going to coach. It was never in my spirit, in my heart, that God wouldn't allow me to coach again. That's never thought like that. It's just that I didn't want to be running down to the hospital once a week when I got all this on my plate.
That is the head football coach of the Colorado Buffaloes today, announcing that he was diagnosed in the spring with bladder cancer. And he was able to undergo treatments and surgery and was proclaimed cured by the two doctors that sat on either side of him today at his what usually would be an opening season press conference for Deion Sanders. And I would expect that press conference, because I've seen the last two, to be Deion Sanders defiant against those doubting what he will be able to accomplish this season in Boulder. Today he was defiant, but he was defiant in a different way and defiant against something much greater. And he was able to take on this diagnosis head on. What helped him, in a repeated message from him today, was the fact that he was screened and got it found early, which we're always told is important. And yet some of us, especially some of us men, don't do a good enough job, aren't as proactive as we need to be. But because Deion caught it early, he was able to tackle this head on and was able to beat this cancer. And it is an unbelievable, I don't even want to call it his greatest triumph, because that's like trivializing it. Like, this is separate from football. But he deserves a ton of praise for it. And now we know. And now what kind of stuck out to me too, now his team knows. He wasn't telling his team. His team was as in the dark as you and I were. His coaches didn't know. Shiloh and Shedeur Sanders did not know. He didn't want to burden them. And doesn't that sound like, A, something a dad would do, and B, something that someone who is dealing with a serious illness would do? Oh, I don't want to burden anyone else. I'm sure Shedeur and Shiloh care more about their father's health than preparing for the NFL draft. But Deion chose not to tell them what he was dealing with. Recounted a FaceTime with Shedeur where Shedeur asked him what was wrong because he didn't look or sound right. But he didn't share this with two of his sons. He didn't share it with his football team, his football coaches, which is I mean, to each his own. I'm not going to, for a second, tell Deion Sanders that he was wrong in doing that. It's his cancer diagnosis. It's his illness. I get it. You have a family. You have, coworkers and things like that. This is as personal as it gets. You deal with it the way that you see fit. And Deion did. And thankfully, he's not going to have to deal with it anymore. Or knock on wood, he won't have to deal with it anymore. But the one lingering question that I have is just how long Deion Sanders is going to continue to coach with how different his life is now. You heard it there. There was never a doubt that he was going to coach again. And he said during the press conference as well today that the surgery he had, the treatment that he took, everything that he did was with with football in mind. He was that dedicated to get back. He didn't think for a second that maybe it's time for him to hang it up. And he went in depth on this too, his life is going to be very different. In addition to his life being different with some of his other health issues that he has had in the past. And I do wonder if at some point this new way of life, he does say, you know what? That's it for me. I'm going to go and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my life with my wife and my family, and I want to go watch my sons play football and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's a year from now. I'm not saying it's 5 years from now. But you have to wonder, with everything that he has gone through, if there is a tipping point to where he says, all right, that's enough. I hope it's no time soon. I hope he coaches for as long as he wants to. But he's dealt with a lot. And one thing you cannot question about Deion Sanders is his dedication to this job of his, to this life he has. And all the credit in the world to him for beating a nasty, nasty disease. Now let's move to more sports things. Here's story number 2.
Play fake for Nix in the pocket. Starts to break down, throws the ball on the run. That ball is caught in the end zone. That is a Denver touchdown, and that is Courtland Sutton.
KOA on the call. Courtland Sutton going to be around for a little bit longer as he signs a 4-year, $92 million extension with the Denver Broncos. And I think it is the perfect contract to give him. Because to me, Courtland Sutton is a top 20 wide receiver in the NFL. He is not a top 15, and this contract makes him the 19th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. So I think that the Broncos got this exactly right, and Courtland Sutton deserved this deal because, one, he is bar none the best wide receiver that the Denver Broncos have. They could not gone into this season without Courtland Sutton. You have a bunch of unproven young players, and you have a second-year quarterback that still needs more help. He probably still doesn't have as much help as I would like Bo Nix to have. But Courtland Sutton, being by far the best wide receiver that they have, deserved this extension. But also he deserves this extension because of the way he has handled all of this. The Broncos have clearly sent some messages that we like you, we're not in love with you. And Courtland Sutton not once has ever made his displeasure around that known. And I think the perfect encapsulation of who Courtland Sutton is as a teammate, you think back to that New Orleans game on that Thursday night. Broncos absolutely rolled over the Saints. Courtland Sutton did not get one target. Not one. Which kind of makes my point about where Courtland Sutton ranks in the pecking order in the NFL. But the way that he reacted to that, how many wide receivers would be pumping up their teammates with a smile on their face, happy that above all else the team is winning the game despite getting no touches? There are not very many wide receivers that I could imagine doing that. And you would understand it, by the way. You would understand to an extent if at some point Courtland Sutton made it known that he's not told, like even in a way that Terry McLaurin voiced his displeasure with Washington. Like McLaurin's not saying he wants out of Washington, quite the opposite. But he's making his displeasure known, and I think he is right to do that. But I also give credit to Courtland Sutton that he's never done that. He's been a great teammate. He's a captain. He's a leader. And he does just want to win above all else. And so in that way, it's an easy win for the Broncos to have. They're not overpaying. They're paying him right for what he is. He is the 19th, probably the 19th best wide receiver in the NFL. They're paying him like it. But this is an easy win for the Denver Broncos to say, we take care of our guys. Courtland Sutton has been the consummate professional, a great teammate, a leader, and even if he's not among the elite at his position, we're taking care of him. Easy win for the Broncos and a deserved extension for Courtland Sutton. Before I go to story number 3, which is also Broncos related, our question of the day located at Extra Sports 1300 on whatever social media platform you follow us on. Courtland Sutton is a top blank receiver in the NFL. I say top 20. What say you? In the meantime, let's go to story number 3. Also, as I said, Broncos related.
Just the way I think, the way I am motivated, I want to continue to get higher, and not even for the ranking. It doesn't really matter what you're ranked. It's just an internal standard that I have, that I want to be the best in the world, and I know there's a lot of guys that I'm competing for that with, and I'm not going to stop until I at least give it my best try.
That was Bo Nix over the weekend, saying something that if you would have heard it from basically any quarterback in Denver post Peyton Manning, you would have LOL'd, maybe even ROTFL'd. But with Bo Nix, it perks your ears up, right? You're like, whoa, wait, what? You want to be the what? But with Bo Nix, because of the way he's wired, because of what you've learned about him, it doesn't sound that weird. Like, I heard that, and I said, well, of course Bo Nix thinks he could be the best in the world. And of course that's what he's striving for. The guy is all about football, which is something that has not been true of some of his predecessors. So it doesn't sound objectively ridiculous that he said that. And I don't even want to wade into the waters of will he ever get there. Okay, I understand why he's saying it, and I believe that is absolutely what he's striving for, and I think he 1,000% believes that he can get there. Hook him up to a polygraph. I think Bo Nix would pass. Because that dude is incredibly dedicated to football. But I will help Bo Nix along the way. I will tell you that the thing that Bo Nix needs to get, if he's even going to be on the periphery of that conversation that he wants to be in, he's got to get a superpower. With Patrick Mahomes, no amount of time is too little for him to lead the Chiefs down the field to win a football game. For Lamar Jackson, it's his legs, his athleticism. For Josh Allen, it's his athleticism and good luck trying to stop him on a short yardage situation. Joe Burrow, it's his unflappable nature. Bo Nix doesn't have any of those things yet. His superpower right now is Sean Payton. His superpower and the reason for his success in large part is because he has one of the brightest offensive minds pulling the strings and putting him in positions where he is likely to succeed even at his young age in terms of his NFL experience. Which I know there's a guy in Washington who that's not really the case for, and I understand that. But it's okay that that's Bo Nix's superpower right now, is that he has Sean Payton in his corner. But eventually, Bo Nix is going to have to show that there is something about him that as a defense, you throw up your hands. And let's take it outside of football for a minute, but let's keep it in the state of Colorado. There is a guy that is widely considered the best in the world at what he does. Listen to the way people talk about defending Nikola Jokic. 0 people are talking about Bo Nix in the same way that they talk about Nikola Jokic. With Nikola Jokic, it is very much, I don't know. Like that's kind of the emotion people have when you ask them about defending Nikola Jokic. Oh, I don't know what to do. We wing in a prayer. We just give it our best shot. There's this feeling of defeat before you even step onto the floor against Nikola Jokic, that you know that in a certain situation, he's going to get the better of you, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. The top quarterbacks in the NFL, the ones that are in the conversation for the best in the world, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, they have that. Where you're just like, if Lamar gets out of the pocket, forget about it. If there is more than 0 seconds left on the clock and Patrick Mahomes has the ball, forget about it. If Josh Allen wants to tuck that ball and run right at me, he's gonna get what he's looking for. But there's not that right now with Bo Nix. That's what he has to develop. Is there something there? I don't see anything yet. But if he's going to be in the conversation of the best in the world, he's going to have to have that thing that the other quarterbacks that we talk about in that way have. He doesn't have to have the same thing they do, but he's got to have something. And right now, his something is Sean Payton, and that doesn't count. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on the 3 stories that are driving the show. Coming up next, more Broncos injury news, but again, not awful. Get to it next here on Extra Sports 1300. Friday night, Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC take on Lexington SC at 7 o'clock. Come out to catch the best of summer soccer and celebrate Next Generation Night, presented by Amentum, honoring the future of our community and the next wave of Switchbacks fans. Kids, that's who we're talking about here. The kiddos, bring out the kids. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. Seats are going fast. Get your tickets now at switchbacksfc.com. So I don't know what it is about that linebacker room for the Denver Broncos, but they need to lighten things up a little bit. Now Alex Singleton is hurt. Drew Sanders going to be out 4 to 6 weeks at least with this tendon issue in his foot, meaning forget about Drew Sanders until the season starts. And now Alex Singleton broke his thumb. Now, the prognosis much better for Singleton than Drew Sanders because Singleton will let it heal for about a week, and then he'll come back with a club on it for one of his hands, and he'll be right as rain. So not even as serious as Drew Sanders' injury, and even Drew Sanders' injury, there was a little bit of light there at the end of that from Sean Payton today that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So Alex Singleton, probably out a week. And it's funny, the guy that, maybe not funny, but the guy that came in to that linebacker room with the injury question was Dre Greenlaw. And it's everyone around him that's getting hurt. Although Alex Singleton and Drew Sanders have missed significant times with injury. So that whole room, that whole inside linebacker room is a little bit of a liability to get hurt. If they don't get hurt, you like that group with Dre Greenlaw, especially. But those guys have had, and it could be the nature of the position a little bit. Right? Benito and Cooper and those guys, they get a run after the quarterback. These inside guys, they got to hit running backs. They got to hit tight ends. They sometimes run in straight forward to big old offensive linemen. There's going to be more injuries there for sure. With Dre Greenlaw, if you were listening earlier, Sean Payton said he played like Mike Tyson. It's high praise, but Dre Greenlaw says he's heard it before.
Yeah, I've gotten that before for sure. I don't know. I just like to play football. Go out there and I give it my all. You never know when it's going to be a last chance on the field, last chance to play. So you want to make a strong statement anytime you can. So I just love doing it and thankful to be able to do it. And yeah.
And the Broncos are certainly happy to have a player like that. If Dre Greenlaw is healthy and plays, we've been talking about Cortland Sutton, where he ranks. Dre Greenlaw is one of the best 3 players at his position. But the reason why, in part, the Denver Broncos were able to land him, and this is a credit to the Broncos and what they have done elsewhere on the roster, Dre Greenlaw does not play the most important position on a defense. He doesn't. He doesn't play the second most important position on the defensive side of the football. But because the Broncos have at the most important position, Zach Allen, Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, and at the second most important position, they have the reigning defensive player of the year, and they have a highly touted first-round pick that's now in that position. And the Broncos, I think what it comes down to and why, and you'll hear from Dre Greenlaw in a second why he chose Denver, but I think what helped the Denver Broncos land him is they probably prioritized him. in a way other teams didn't. And that was made possible by the fact that they got the more important positions on the defensive side of the football figured out. And also they got so many more positions on the field on both sides of the football figured out, or at least what they think. You know, you and I can sit here and talk about how we don't think that the Broncos wide receiving core is good enough or the running back room is good enough, because they're not. But Sean Payton thinks it is. He certainly doesn't feel the need to go out and spend a ton of money on wide receivers and running backs. So he feels like they're good there. They have Bo Nix, the offensive line, which legitimately is good, not just in Sean Payton's mind, or Sean Payton can work with it like it's a legitimately stout offensive line. They got all that done. The Broncos, what they'll accomplish this season, we'll be debating that for weeks on end now. But they are a well put together roster. They have a lot of boxes checked. And when you do that, when you have players at the most important positions, right? Guy to throw the football, they feel good about. They didn't have to go out and get that. Guy to catch the football, we can quarrel a little bit, but certainly Sean Payton feels like he has what he needs there. Guys to protect the guy throwing the football, Broncos definitely have that. And a guy to go rush the opposing guy that throws the football, they have that. So in their mind, or in reality, they are set at those premium positions, so they can go to Dre Greenlaw and be like, hey, dude, we really want you. You're our number one free agent that we're trying to get. And I got to imagine that was the conversation. And I've said this, for the Broncos, he's kind of the missing piece. You kind of put him in the middle of that defense, and like everything else just kind of feels like it fits around him. Here's Dre Greenlaw on why he chose Denver.
The organization and, the people that's in the organization, Sean, Penners, and then just, the guys, like, they've had, one of the best defenses for quite some time now. I know last year they, really took that notch, and I just wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be where I was accepted, where I was wanted, and this was the right place for me.
That second to last thing is what I'm seizing on there. The Denver Broncos, maybe certainly more than San Francisco, it feels like, but maybe more than any other team in the NFL, made Dre Greenlaw feel wanted. Something that was made possible and rang true to Dre Greenlaw because the Denver Broncos have taken care of so many other positions on the field that normally you would prioritize over someone that plays the position Dre Greenlaw does. It's great that they have him. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, it's a great addition to the Denver Broncos. 719-247-1313. Coming up next, why Nikola Jokic is never beating the allegations. Riot Fest coming to Chicago this September is 3 days of live music with over 90 artists featuring headlining sets from Green Day, Blink-182, Weezer, Jack White, and many more. And we're hooking up one winner with a VIP trip for two to Riot Fest, including flights, hotel, VIP tickets to the show for all 3 days, the festival, I should call it, plus $200 to raid the merch store. All you need to do to enter is simply text the national keyword James, James, to 95819. That will enter you to win and be listening all this week for more national keywords and your chance to win. Prize provided by Riot Fest and full contest rules at extrasports1300.com. I said before the break, and I mean it, Nikola Jokic is never beating the allegations. What allegations is he never beating? The allegations that he doesn't really care about basketball. Because one of his horses won a race, and he was more emotional than when the Denver Nuggets won the NBA title, when he won the MVP. And so that old line that Nikola Jokic doesn't care, it's really his 9 to 5 and he's a clock puncher and all of this kind of stuff comes back up because he was getting very emotional about his horse winning. And I can't speak to the connection he has with the racehorse. I think Jim Rome did a good job of that because he's in that line of work. I'm not. I don't get it. I mean, I get horse racing, like I enjoy it, but I'm just saying to have that level of a reaction, I can't get to that level. I would say winning an NBA title would fill me with more emotion than my horse winning a race. But if I had to theorize what that feels like, what that might be close to, here's the way I would put it. Nikola Jokic winning an MVP, winning an NBA title is very much his accomplishment. I know he's winning an NBA title with the entire Denver Nuggets roster, but it's something that he's doing. It's his accomplishment. It's his career. The only thing that I can possibly think of, and I may be way off on this, is that until his children are old enough to do their own thing and accomplish their own things, the emotion he's showing is closer to that kind of emotion, right? For me, I get more joy out of the simplest things that my kids do than the best things that I do, right? And I'm sure you're the same way if you have children. I get far more joy out of my kids doing something than me. Right? So again, he has, I think he has one kid and he's got another on the way. If that's right, I don't keep track of the Jokic family tree. I just want to know the whereabouts of his brother at all times. And he was at Vegas Summer League, so he was present and accounted for. I don't keep track, but I know his daughter, very young. I'm sure that Nikola Jokic will show even more emotion than he showed towards his horse when his daughter accomplishes whatever she's going to accomplish. I don't know if she's going to play sports. Maybe it's, performing in a talent show, getting an A on a test. I don't know. But and I'm not trying to, because I'm not a believer in this, that animals and children are equal. It is a very different experience having a child than having an animal. I don't mean to upset anybody, but that's just kind of the way I feel on the subject. But what it is it's not his accomplishment, right? It's not something that he is doing. It's something that this animal that he feels a great affinity towards, that he's watched, grow up, probably was around when he was born. Maybe we don't even need to go all the way to the children end of the spectrum. But the way I look at it, I just think all this stuff that he accomplishes in his NBA career, those are his accomplishments. And sometimes the accomplishments that happen that you are a part of, but it's not really you. Sometimes you feel more pride in that. You feel more emotion to that. I think that's what it is. But with that video going around, no one is ever everyone, they'll keep saying that he doesn't care about basketball. And Jokic isn't helping anything, by the way, by emoting the way that he did. But congratulations to whatever horse that is for winning that race. The big race, whatever it was. By the way, in other Nikola Jokic news, he will be taking part in Eurobasket. And this will be one of the last sporting events before the NFL gets going. College football does get going around this same time. But one of the last professional, even though Eurobasket's not really professional, you get what I'm saying. One of the last things that I'm really looking forward to that comes before the NFL season kicks off. Because you are going to have 3 of the best players on planet Earth competing. And as much as I enjoyed the Olympics like everybody else, and what Steph Curry did. In fact, I watched over the weekend the Netflix documentary just to relive what Steph Curry did in the Olympics. It was phenomenal. And it fills you with national pride. But let's call it what it is. 3 of the best, certainly the best 2 players in the world. Where you put Luka, I think he's certainly top 5. But Jokic and Giannis are the 2 best players in the world. And they're in this tournament. Luka's definitely one of the 5 best players in the world. He's playing in the tournament. You won't have America for obvious reasons. Eurobasket. But I am very much looking forward to that tournament because not only are all the big names going to be in it, but these guys care. You think that Nikola Jokic doesn't care about basketball? Watch Eurobasket. Watch Eurobasket. Think to yourself, Nikola Jokic on the bench shortly after Michael Malone was fired, right? You know the video I'm talking about. That will be Nikola Jokic at Eurobasket. If you think that Nikola Jokic cares about a horse way more than he cares about basketball, watch Eurobasket. Watch Giannis, watch Luka, watch every single one of them. They care a lot. So that's coming up, I think, mid to late August. I'll double check. But Nikola Jokic, according to the Serbian national team, is a go. Luka's a go. Giannis is a go. And Jonas Valanciunas is a go. Let's not forget about Jonas. He's going to be playing in Eurobasket, and we may get a Jokic versus Valanciunas matchup before they join forces with the Denver Nuggets this fall. Nikola Jokic cares about basketball. And I've said this about him. He knows it's a bit to him. He understands the way people talk about him. And he leans into it. He cares immensely about his basketball exploits. He cares a lot about the Nuggets winning a title. He desperately wants to get back to an NBA Finals to win another title. You know, I don't have to tell you this, but for the people across the internet, go ahead and make your jokes. That's fine. I mean, I get it. The video evidence, the videos you could put next to each other, it delivers the punchline for you. I get it. I'm just telling you that he does care very much about basketball and his accomplishments on an NBA court. But because he has invested so much time in his offseason and probably financially has invested a lot, and that feeling of powerlessness that you have, like, it makes the thrill even greater. And again, congratulations to Nikola Jokic's horsey on a job well done. What did I miss? Here's the other thing. So we were talking about NFL contracts needed to be guaranteed. Got a text about that. I agree wholeheartedly. But I just football league. Here's another thing that will never happen. Or I shouldn't say will never. Something that actually quite the opposite. I'm looking at it from Bryce Harper's perspective. There will be a Major League Baseball salary cap at some point. I'm fairly confident of that. It will take a while, but they'll get in. I'll tell you the thing that they won't have, which they need to have, is a floor. They'll go try to get a cap, and they'll have no floor. So Paul Skeens could go out on the field and compete with the team that, with all due respect, isn't any better than the one he had at Air Force. Which is not to disparage his teams at Air Force, but we're talking about a Major League Baseball franchise in the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm okay with the salary cap. Okay, and I'm taking the Rockies out of it because until they show that they're even remotely competent, they have no part in this discussion. I understand the feeling of powerlessness from many baseball fans who are like, the LA Dodgers are spending all this money and they're deferring contracts and all this. How are we supposed to compete with them? That's fair. But I will tell you that the bigger issue with Major League Baseball is not Magic Johnson and the Guggenheim Group. It is your owner. Your owner is the problem. Pittsburgh Pirates fans shouldn't be mad at the New York Yankees and LA Dodgers because Paul Skeens is already signed, sealed, and delivered to one of them at some point in the very near future. Be mad at your owner who won't fork over the money necessary to put a halfway decent team around Paul Skeens to convince him to stay and then to pay him. I understand they can't offer more money than the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers. But Paul Skeens will stay in Pittsburgh if he has a chance to win. I'm not saying I know Paul Skeens as well as anybody. I'm telling you, he would stay in Pittsburgh. He would be like Sidney Crosby. You would have to pry him out of Pittsburgh. He would stay. It's a great sports city, and Paul Skeens is a loyal guy. He would stay if the Pirates had any shot. And don't tell me that it's impossible for a team. Look at the Milwaukee Brewers. Look at the Arizona Diamondbacks in recent years. Okay, you can compete if you're not, you could still have a chance if you're not the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets. Now, do you have a chance to win a title? Who knows? But I'm telling you, Paul Skeens, if the Pirates were a decent baseball team and were willing to invest a decent amount of money into the roster to try and compete, Paul Skeens would stay. But because they won't do that, he's not going to stay. And he's going to end up in LA or New York. And the Pirates owner will complain that he can't compete, knowing full well that he is the problem. It's like when Dick Monfort complained during spring training about the Dodgers. It's like, dude, you're the reason you're keeping, it has nothing to do with your pocketbook. Your incompetence is the reason you can't compete with the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants. Don't cry poverty. That's not the issue here. So Bryce Harper apparently started yelling at Rob Manfred. Bryce Harper said, get the bleep out of our clubhouse if Manfred wanted to talk about the potential implementation of a salary cap. And I understand why Bryce Harper was profane towards Rob Manfred, because it would change the game of baseball. I mean, could you imagine if they put a salary cap in tomorrow? I think it will be difficult and it will take time. But I think that's the next frontier for Major League Baseball. They're going to push for a salary cap. But what will not happen, which absolutely should, if they're going to put a cap on it, they need a floor. And Major League Baseball won't want to do that. Bryce Harper, not a fan of salary caps. That's the big takeaway from the show today. All right, here's another takeaway. If you're feeling wiped out all the time with no energy, you can't focus, you're just dragging through the day, that may not just be you getting older. It may be low testosterone. And in Colorado Springs, Low T Center is the go-to place for getting your energy and your life back. That's really what it is. You're getting your life back. And here's the best part. The test to find out if you have low T, it's free right now. Not for long, but right now it is. You can go in, get your levels checked in about 15 minutes, and you're on your way. Most insurance is accepted if you do need treatment, so treatment is affordable too, and you have options when it comes to your treatment. You can go into the clinic for white glove care, or you can get medically monitored treatment shipped right to your door. So take the first step. Visit fixmylowt.com. That's fixmylowt.com, and let the local pros at Low T Center help you feel like yourself again. It has been my absolute pleasure to serve you, and I appreciate your patronage on this Monday. Enjoy your evening. I'm going to go check out Fantastic Four. Warn me now if I'm going to hate it. I hear good things, but what does it matter? The boys are telling me we got to go, so we're going. Enjoy your evening, whatever you may be doing. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 3 here on Extra Sports 1300.